such as robotic, unmanned vehicles. So this all required an artificial intelligence development supported by very strong advancement in microchip development for conducting Internet of Things. This is now happening. Can you imagine a smartphone with the RAM of 8 gigabytes with the memory of 512 gigabytes with 5G connection? Wow, this is unbelievable. So digital era is happening with our surrounding, with our life, our system. So where is the position of MBA School of Business? While we are keeping our core pillars in business and management, such as finance, strategic management, marketing, organizational behavior, ISMI in the preparation of inserting STEM and STEAM literacy, which is stand for science, technology, engineering, mathematics, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics literacy in both our undergraduate and graduate programs. In addition, knowing that 60% of our MBA students' background is engineering, we are now in the formulation of curriculum and program that offering MBA in data analytics and business analytics. Hopefully, will be launched in the midst of 2021. To relate this digitalization and STEM literacy with commodities and trading and business interests in Indonesia, IPMI also in the preparation of developing curriculum MBA that focus on such as food business, halal food management, and family business. IPMI started to address the issues through series of more than 7 webinars in the last 3 months, where invited many prominent speakers such as Coordinating Minister of Economy, Dr. Erlangga Hartarto, the Minister of Research and Technology, Head of BRIN, Professor Bambang Bronjonegoro, the Minister of Marine and Fisheries, Dr. Rudy Prabowo, Head of BPPT, Dr. Hamam, Rector of IPB University, Professor Arif Satya, Rector of ITB, Professor Reni Wirahadikusuma, and hundreds of professors, doctors, scientists, students, and practitioners from industries. In this very memorable moment tonight, I would like to recognize the presence of our excellent speakers. Dr. Insinyur Rinaldi Firmansyah, MBA, the President Commissioner of Pertamina Hulu Energy, former CEO of PT Telkom, which is IPMI MBA alumnus, and also IPMI faculty members. And then Mr. Satya Radjasa, MBA, the Chairman and Managing Director of PT Korn Ferry Indonesia. He is an IPMI MBA alumni. And then Mr. Donny Arsal, the Finance Director of PT Jasa Marga, an IPMI MBA student. Of course, as you also heard that our MC tonight is Mbak Sita, is also IPMI graduate student for the year 2019 and 2020. So I'm so grateful and proud to have you all with us and sharing your thought in the theme of the webinar. I wish you all the successful discussion and deliberation and get the benefits from this rare but strategic webinar conducted by IPMI. Finally, I would like also to recognize the IPMI management, especially the MBA team programs, Pak Kurniawan, Mbak Ratna, Mbak Sita, who have made an excellent preparation for the webinar. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Prof. Aman. Okay, so now before we start the session, I would like to introduce one more time our first speaker, Dr. Rinaldi Firmansyah, who was actually one of my lecturers for the first semester, yes? So I will just read a bit your profile, Rinaldi, before starting. So Dr. Rinaldi Firmansyah received his bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Bandung Institute of Technology and an MBA from IPMI International Business School. and a doctorate degree from Pajajaran University. He is also a member of Chartered Financial Analyst at AIMR Charlottesville, USA. He was former CEO of PT Telekomunikasi Indonesia, 2007 to 2012, and is the President Commissioner of PT Pertamina Hulu Energy. And currently the core faculty at IPMI International Business School for MBA program. So Dr. Rinaldi, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Sita, and thank you, Pak Aman, and thank you, everyone. Welcome to this meeting. I thought I would be the last one to do the presentation, but okay. I will do the first one. So I hope just before I start, can you see, can you hear first my voice, and can you see the
Yes.
material?
Yes, Pak.
Yes, Pak Rinaldi.
Thank you. So
You can hear clearly, sir.
okay, thank you very much. So I think because the topic given to us, three of us, is becoming transformative leader in the digital era, especially in this pandemic situation. It's where digital is really, we really have to get used to the digital and in a forced way. However, it is very important. I think the peak of the leadership in the digital era, if you ever watch the movie Matrix, where Keanu Reeves was playing, I think that is one in which it is very difficult for even me to find who was the leader of Matrix, in that sense, So that is one thing. So let's start first, please remind me of the timing, Sita. Otherwise, let me get my.
Yes, Pak.
Yeah.
You have 20 minutes.
Oh,
a long time.
I will not spend that much.
Okay.
Okay, let's start with the leader in the digital era. What is the digital era first? Digital era. Let's start on what companies or corporation or business have spent, in order to go into the digital era. So you see how big that the company all over the world is spending for digital transformation. In 2018, it was 1.2 trillion US dollar, with the growth rate in the 5 years of 17.1. So we expect that in 2023, the digital spending for transformation is 2.3 trillion. So this is the size that would give the clear message that everyone is rushing, everyone rushing into the digital era. As if they do not want to be left behind. Look at the number of spending there. So what is the spending? Unfortunately, I only have the data for 2018. So it's covering all of the technology sector required for the business operation. On technology and communication platforms. And the last one is rising very quick, is a data-driven decision. Means on how you process data to be able to make a decision. So these are quoted from the International Data Corporation, which do the intelligence report every year. So this first on the digital. So which industry is spending more, and of course when you see the industry with spending more, that shows how they are basically is like a phobia, or they have to be prepared before it is going to be captured by a small and agile companies. So this one, yeah, in terms of the largest spending, definitely still manufacturing, yeah, which spend 30% of the total budget in the digital transformation, yeah. However, in terms of growth, of course, now you can see financial services is the one with the highest growth, yeah, 19%. So distribution and services, including retail, 18, and public services. Look at the public services spending is also big. So from this chart, you can see how industries are spending and trying to be ahead of everyone. We see why the banking, yeah, insurance, security, and investment services, why do they spend that much, yeah, and the growth is that much? Because there are threats from external, including fintech, including artificial intelligence and machine learning companies, etc., coming very fast. Yeah. For example, when you are going to process the credit approval in banking, or insurance approval, etc., that later on can be done digitally. You don't have to do it manual. So that's how they should spend money. So this is the area. Fortunately, I'm coming from the background of telecom. We had the experience of being attacked by all the digitals, yeah. Although we survive, but being attacked, all of this content, they are trafficking, yeah, on top of telecommunication infrastructure. But the one who's receiving the biggest benefit is not the telco who provides the infrastructure, but all of the content providers, including there is Facebook, including Instagram. They are all traveling above, on top of our infrastructure in telecom. But telecom got a very little economics. However, that is the reality. So you can see now, yeah, how industries are spending. So why they are spending? Why they are spending this much? Let's see, who are the users of their services or products. Yeah, because they need to basically, this is from the digital disruption is that is going to go and flood the markets, and look at who are why do they spend that much? Yeah, basically only one. How can they spend this to meet the customer expectations? So there is nothing more. Yeah, it's only to meet the customer expectation. We will go into a little bit more on what is the customer expectation, which is different than the previous probably 20 years ago, 10 years ago, what kind of customers that we have in the current system. Yeah. So in Indonesia, this is I got from Hootsuite. Yeah. So these are the typical both the market in Indonesia. People, users of digital, yeah, internet. There is 175 million now, is probably already rising. I know user of IndiHome is always rising because of the pandemic. Yeah, so people is working from home. That's a good news for IndiHome and for a cellular operator. Yeah, but this is the market. And how the market is spending, spending habit in terms of time. This is how they spend their time. Yeah, look at the television, which is and now is only 3 hours. People spending per day. Yeah, as compared to not even half of how people spend time in internet. yeah, browsing, yeah, opening social media, etc., including no, social media is another one. In fact, 3 hours even bigger than watching television. And yeah, this is the chart that shows you how the purchasing and trade habit has changed. This is still, I think, the number. If you look at the number, it's not as big as the Indonesian GDP, but the growth rate is what we have to really look at. So I had talked a little bit about the spending to do a digital transformation. Why do they do spending? Yeah, because of the customers. But what kind of customers? Yeah. So this is what now we are entering. Yeah, what some experts says the age of consumers, the era of consumers. Look at the two block below. In the past, yeah, there is only one direction in which a producer is selling or provider is selling their products or services to consumers. Nowadays, your consumers can also be the producers for your. Look at what happened with YouTube. Yeah, there are many YouTubers who is producing the content. They are consumers of YouTube, but at the same time, they are producers to YouTube. Look at Instagram, yeah. Look at many other, digital industries. So consumers is all now becoming the producers. What does it affect? How it affects the industry? Yeah, and later we'll discuss about how it affects the leadership. Yeah, it affects a lot. Why? Because now that's why it is called age of consumer, because of the low switching costs. Yeah, for example, in the past, if we want to buy bakmi GM, yeah, we can just go to bakmi GM. I mean, then we either riding a motorcycle or riding a car. There is the cost that we have to expend to go to a bakmi GM and buy the bakmi. But now, just by opening Go or Grab Food, yeah, you don't need to do that, yeah. Although you are paying for the transportation, but you're switching costs from, if you want to go to Bakmi Naga or you want to go to Bakmi Boy, yeah, the switching cost is so low, yeah. So that is what has changed, yeah. This is why that is low, because infrastructure now is all mostly shared, and that is also reducing the cost. We will experience in the next 10 years how the infrastructure is becoming even cheaper when there is an EV cars and there is, a driverless car, etc. That is where we will see the market going forward. So the net result, yeah, the new upstarts can compete with established market leaders quickly. Yeah, the new upstart. Why is that? Yeah, because normally the bigger we are, the more risk averse we are. Yeah, the more risk averse the company. It's not because of anything else. Look at when Microsoft was taking over IBM. At that time, which engineers were basically better in the IT services? Was that engineers working for IBM or engineers working for Microsoft? Except for Bill Gates, probably, all the IT engineers from IBM coming from all of the top-notch schools, yeah, and they had experience, but still, they don't see these changes in the digital. So that's why Microsoft is growing very fast, coming from a small and able to compete with the established market leaders quickly. Let me move ahead. Yeah, so that's why in transformation, mostly we all know that is technology must, but most importantly is the culture. The culture on how you transfer your company. I had the experience also in telecom, yeah, when we had to do the transformation. Yeah, how could we do the transformation with the old minds? Yeah, very difficult. So if you want to do transformation, you need also to have a new mind, yeah, a new set of culture, yeah, and a new set of talents, yeah, and also metrics. For example, yeah, if you want to enter into a new business, look at because I'm also the working for Bluebird, yeah. Look at what Bluebird is doing, yeah. When Grab, Uber, and Gojek is coming, what happened? This company, because of the funding from the venture capitals, they don't need to produce profit for even until now. Yeah. So when there is a proposal of investment in the new digital era, the way they basically approve the proposal is different than the way how Bluebird is approved the proposal. In the traditional business, we approve the proposal based on IRR and how the company is making money, especially for a public company. If we don't make money, then the investor will be angry with us. But in a digital businesses, the way they evaluate and the way they approve the spending is basically not far from that, but basically it's different. They are counting on the revenue only. Some of them are counting on the subscribers only. So that's how they sell their company. Yeah. So this is a different. So what is different? The people behind it. How could you change the the traditional finance manager who approved the investment? Yeah, with a traditional way. However, in the new business era, how you approve the business is also different than how you approve the traditional businesses. Okay, so that is the most difficult area. At the same time, yeah, this is what the existing company, yeah, if you compare it with the digital, because we have to do both. Yeah, we have to protect the present. Yeah, and the most difficult one is forget the past, and at the same time build the future. This is people says like changing the airlines planes engine while you are flying while you are flying. So it's not while you are stopping. So very difficult, yeah, because you have to keep flying. At the same time, you have to change your engine on air. Yeah, so how the challenge is there, yeah. So that's why, yeah, if you see from the bottom of the presentation, when companies adopt technology, yeah, many, they do all things, but in a new ways. Many of you probably don't recognize that Bluebird, yeah, was the first one who used the apps for ordering a taxi, yeah, before the online transportation was there. Yeah. However, it's just replacing the way we order taxi. And the new online coming into the market is not only ordering, but including payment, including feedback, including how basically the route can be seen transparently. So a different way of adopting the technology. Yeah. So doing both, yeah. So that is now. So what kind of leadership we need to survive this, big changes? Yeah. First, let's see the challenges. Transparency. The leader in this area, in this era, we cannot just, like in the past, we want to keep the information private, yeah, and no one is knowing what information that we hold. So currently, all layers, whether this is internal company or all externals, they even know what we are doing. Even, yeah, we try to keep it private. So transparency. How are you dealing with transparency? Look at what happened with the CEO of and founder of Uber and founder of WeWork. Yeah, when they are doing IPOs. Yeah, Uber did the IPO, but WeWork did not do the IPO. Their private information is released. So a lot of issues, especially negative issues, was then known by the investors, etc., that affected their, profile. So these two CEOs from WeWork and from Uber then basically let go by the shareholders. Yeah, that is the challenges. Second, technical competencies. Yeah. Do we really need a leader who really coming from the technology background? Many, if you see, this is not required, but what you need actually, a leader who knows where we are going to and what kind of basically tools that we need to do. And then on the technology, you can use somebody else. And the latest challenge, how it is coming very, very fast, I think it's unexpected because of the COVID. The virtual world is this now. Yeah. What is the effect of the virtual world, like what we are doing now? It's less formal. Basically, we cannot, emotion is not really being seen. Yeah. So the relationship, human-to-human relationship, is less, at least for the time being. Yeah, in many meetings that we do, we cannot really overcome the the issue on a human-to-human relationship. Although a meeting is much more rigorous than before. So these are the challenges of leadership. The good news is many traditional aspects of leadership still apply. So these are just some traditional aspects of leadership. Yeah, the most important one when you are a leader, I think always thinking of a change. If you are a leader, of course, you always think about change. That is. Because if you just stay as is, as before, basically, your followers will, whoa, well, what is the difference between this leader and the previous one? So it's about change. Yeah. I think because time is limited, let me go further. On this one. So this are the many aspects of the traditional leadership: empower people, inspire, and shared vision. Yeah, I'm not going to spend time much here. Yeah. So, as we said, a change, challenge the process. That is how a leader would be evaluated going forward. Yeah. Shared vision, we already talked about this. And also other things that we had discussed. But let me go now. Yeah, the transformational leadership we have here. Yeah, leadership style that is typically encouraging, inspire, and motivate employees. Yeah, and find new solutions to old problems. So unlike what we did in the taxi, as my story before, yeah, technology is only used to solve the old issues with the new way, but it's basically new solutions for a new problems. Yeah. So these are the examples of leaders that we should admire. I think one you can take as an example is Apple. Yeah, when Steve Jobs passed away, people think, oh, Apple will basically decline. In fact, what we see is a dual transformation. Steve Jobs innovated and building an ecosystem. Tim Cook extended his vision and focused on innovation, software, and brand loyalty. So that's why Apple was the first one to achieve $1 trillion valuation. But now Amazon is the number one. Yeah, there is also the story about Danone, etc. That you can read later. Yeah. So then we come to what are some aspects in addition to the traditional aspects of leaders in the digital era. One is be prepared in a constantly changing environment. Yeah. Who could predict that there is a COVID-19? Yeah. In the oil business, who could predict that the oil price suddenly from 100 down to 40? Yeah. So be prepared to change one's mind when situation change. So adaptability is, I think, the name of the game. Yeah, if we want to survive the digital area, because changes is coming from everyone and coming from not from your industry, but many are coming from outside of your industry. Be open to learning. Yeah. Because nowadays, even your lower rank in the office probably can give a good feedback to you. Based, look at the entrepreneurs now. They are at the age of 20s or 30s. So do not underestimate the lower level. And then it's gone the past in which a leader is always the number one who knows everything. No, now is basically leader has to be open and to learn from everyone. So the third one, while we are talking adaptability, that is the short-term aspects, traits that we need. The third one is visionary. We still need a leader who knows to have the idea where the organization need to go. That is still required. And the next one is engage. Yeah, communicate, talk, get and listen, and get engage with your employees, get engaged with your customers and partners. So the leader in the current situation needs to work busier than the one in the past, because they need to surround themselves with a network of people who they can learn from and can get information from. And the two last is ability to execute at a speed. Yeah, as you understand, we are, especially the larger organization, corporation, we are competing against the small one, which is very agile and very, quick in going to the market with their products and services. So fast execution, that means a bureaucracy should be much more less. Yeah, should be much less. And while in the past it's gone the era in which a businessman is using more intuition. Now, data is coming from everywhere. Even we call it, too much data. Yeah, but how do we filter the data? Yeah, and use it to decision making. So these are, I think, what I see, yeah, currently what is required from leaders, yeah, if you want to become really a leader in the digital era. I think that is all, Sita. I hope I'm not taking too much time. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rinaldi. If I may summarize a bit of your presentation before moving on to the next speaker. So internet has become a really important part of our lives and society where we could no longer live without it. And also e-commerce have been growing rapidly as well. And nowadays, digital transformation is needed to accelerate companies' ability to meet customers' expectations, and successful transformation focuses on 5 key areas, which are technology, culture, talent, metrics, and structure, where the majority requires human change. And an effective leader with transformational leadership would find solutions to new problems. And most importantly, the leadership aspects that is needed in the digital era are adaptability, humility, visionary, engage, fast execution, and database decision making. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Rinaldi. The next speaker is an IPMI alumni, Pak Satya Radjasa. He received his MBA from IPMI International Business School and is now a doctor candidate from Pelita Harapan University. He's the chairman and managing director of Korn, Ferry, Indonesia. So, Pak Satya Radjasa, the screen is yours.
Thank you very much, Mbak Sita. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera for all of us. Thank you very much for IPMI International Business School for the invite. Even though this is only a virtual session, but it feels very nice to be back in IPMI after 14 years. So I'm really enjoying the session, especially the very nice insight from Dr. Rinaldi before, and thank you for that. And I'm looking forward for another insightful session from Pak Donny as well. So, Bapak Ibu, the topic for tonight, for this evening, is transformative leadership. We in Korn Ferry, we call it a self-disruptive leader, which is a leader that can continuously self-disrupt and agile in facing all the uncertainty that are very, very hard nowadays. In this session, I will share a couple of things. I will share 2 research, which is the self-disruptive leadership research, and also the inclusive leadership research. Why the 2 research is very good for me to be shared is because it's very relevant. The self-disruptive leadership research is a research that are being done throughout 3 years, and it looks from the point of view and from the investor as well. So it's very, 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 very interesting. I will start with the 3 context slide of the pandemic and digital, and then I will share the research result. Okay. Before that, please allow me to share a bit about the Korn Ferry as a firm. So for those of you who are not familiar with Korn Ferry is a firm that are a combination of Korn Ferry International and a consulting firm by the name of Hay Group. So we established ourselves at Korn Ferry International in 1969. And we are actually focusing much more on the executive search business. As a matter of fact, up till now, we are the largest executive search firm in the world. In the early 2000s, we had a bit of a change of direction when it comes to business. So our CEO back then decided that we want to be not only an executive search firm, but we want to also be a management consulting firm. Hence, we went on a shopping spree, as I would say. From 2006 all the way to 2019, we acquired about 15 companies. If you're familiar with Hay Group, Hay Group is one of the largest consulting firm in human capital. We acquired Hay Group in 2015. If you're also familiar with the talent development concept of 70-20-10, which is owned by Lominger, we acquired Lominger in 2006. So as a result of that, we now operate with 5 solutions. We have a solution that we call organization strategy, where we do operating model design, we do culture transformation, we do top team alignment, and etc. We also have an assessment center business globally as well. And in Indonesia, we have a dedicated assessment center business, which are assessing about 5,000 leaders per year, Indonesian leaders. And we also still have a talent acquisition business from executive search, middle management search, and also recruitment outsourcing. We also have leadership development business and also the reward and benefit business. So these are the 5 solutions that we have. Now, let's look at the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. I think we all know that the COVID-19 pandemic is the worst crisis since the World War II. It disrupts so many things. It disrupts the global supply chain industry. It disrupts tourism business. It disrupts the economy of the world. I mean, you know that in the Q2, Indonesian economy has dropped by -5%, and in Q3 we are still -3.4%, and a lot of employees are being laid off. So and then one of the interesting thing is about the uncertainty level that are created by COVID-19 pandemic is very, very high. In the supply chain side, for example, I had a very good friend who's a CEO of a large consumer goods. When the pandemic starts in China in January and February, the first thing that they did is to try to find an alternative source of raw materials, because they are afraid that if they still source the raw materials from China, there will be impact to their consumers and etc. So what they did is they went to another country, India, to try to source for the raw materials. And then a couple of months after that, the pandemic situation in India has become worse. So they have to switch. And this creates a huge cost pressure from a supply chain perspective. And then if we look at the Indonesian condition itself, at Korn Ferry in month of March and month of April, we had a survey to about almost 400 companies who are participating. And what's interesting is that we look at the survey, we distribute the survey 2 times in the span of time of, I think, about 10 days. And then you see that in the March result and the April result, there's a difference. And when you look back in March and April, the number of cases are not as concerning as we have now. If you look at the significant impact, for example, companies who are expecting to have a decline in revenue of 15 to 30%, for example, in the March result, 35% responded to that. And in the April survey, the same companies or the same data set are being asked, and they respond. The 42% responded that there will be a significant impact of the pandemic. And mind you, again, this survey is being done in April. And if we look at the number of workers who are being laid off, And the numbers keep adding up every single month because we haven't seen clarity yet when the pandemic is going to end, right? Now, if you look at the digital side, Dr. Rinaldi before mentioned about companies are making significant investment up to 1.2 trillion. I think digital is the buzzword in the last 5 to 10 years because everyone wants to go to digital trends, whether it's for efficiency, whether it's for creating the market segment, whether it's for to have a faster go to market or route to market. Everyone is doing it. 96% of organizations see digital transformation is very critical. But the issue is the failure rate is very high. 84% responded that they do not have the skills and capabilities to deliver the digital ambition. And the roadblock is people. So this is not digital transformation or going digital is not about having the money to spend on digital technology, but equally important is to have the people with the right mindset, with enough adaptive mindset to execute it. Because 63% responded that the roadblock is people.
Bentar, bukan di situ.
When you look at this platform, Zoom, before the pandemic, only 10 million user per day maximum. But in the month of March 2020, the amount of user per day is about 200 million. When you look at Microsoft Teams, the growth rate because of the pandemic is about 775% of adoption in Microsoft Teams. So that is the importance of digital transformation, but equally, we need to look at as well some of the roadblock, which is the people side, because 84% executives seeing that it's not as easy as it seems, right? So the biggest question from the three context slide is simple. So what type of leaders is required to navigate all these uncertainties, all this, VUCA condition, all this disruption, and the pandemic? It comes to this. I want to share you the two research that I mentioned about. The first one is the self-disruptive leader. Self-disruptive leader is a longitudinal 3 years research being done by Korn Ferry. Why it's very interesting is because from a demand side perspective, it looks from the investor's perspective of what is the requirement of a future fit leaders. We asked about 795 global investor and analysts, and 85% of the world's largest investors are participating in the research. So that's one, from a demand side perspective. From a supply side perspective, we are looking at our assessment data. We look at about 150,000 global leaders and use the assessment data to look for competencies that are differentiating leaders against best-in-class leaders. And then we compare them with, innovation index, world most admired companies, and etc. The result is quite astonishing, which I will share to you by countries. The result shows that only 15% of the 150,000 global leaders can be considered as self-disruptive leaders, meaning 85% of our current leaders are not future ready, meaning there is a huge gap. There is a massive gap that needs to be filled. So that's one research that I would like to show you. The second one is on inclusive leaders. Inclusive leaders is a research that recently published by Korn Ferry. It has a similar data set of self-disruptive leader research, but we are looking about 3 million leadership assessment result. And we look at the success profile and criteria that needs to be met from inclusive leaders and how that will translate differently into businesses. So those are the two research that I would like to share to you. Right? Now, from the investor perspective, the 2/3 of investor views that future vision are much more preferred rather than past performance. And then the constant change and constant disruption of the industries and business means that investor sees that leadership is going to be much more important for a company to perform in the next 3 years, and 69% respond to that. And 69% of investors in APAC believe that the traditional legacy leadership is not fit for the future, and 60% of them views that 60% of the leaders is not future fit. Now, when you look at disruption, what is the key that are being expected by the investors in the disruptive times? One of the key insights that we got from the study is that there is a very big ambition or aspiration from the investors that companies needs to have a couple of mantras. And a couple of them is speed. Speed are very critical, whether it's speed to customers, whether it's speed against the competitors, whether it's speed to transform the companies, to entertain different customer segments. Speed is very critical for companies to be able to win in disruptive times. Another insights that I receive from the investors are the investor requires leaders to lead companies to produce more innovation in a much speedier way than before, because the cycle for corporate planning has shortened. This typically in 15 years ago, when you look at strategic planning, it's probably 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and etc. But because of the disruption, corporate planning has become shortened and shortened. And the third criteria that the investors are requiring from the leaders are agility. The requirement from the leaders to be able to learn and unlearn and relearn at speed, to be able to turn left, to be able to capture different segments, to be able to transform very fast, to capture different needs of the market, and etc. So those are the key critical things that are expected from the investors towards the leaders, so they can win in disruptive times. Now, I mentioned before that there is only 15% of what we call as self-disruptive leaders. Now, the 15% of the self-disruptive leader, according to the assessment result, shows these 5 competencies that are considered to be best in class or significantly better compared to their peers in the pool of assessments. Number 1 is the anticipate competencies, the ability for leaders to make quick judgment and provide clear direction of where do we want to go. Do we want to turn left? Do we want to create new products? Do we want to create new services? Do we want to expand? Do we want to acquire? So that's something. And then drive. The ability to be able to energize, to give sense of purpose, so everyone has a very similar common grounds, so they can move into the same direction. And then accelerate, implement ideas, quick prototyping, replication, etc. And to partner. There is an expectation that leaders need to be able to have a strong network that connects across organization, etc. And then trust, using diversity as a tool and weapon for the organization. So these are the 5 competencies of the leaders that are considered to be best in class according to the assessments. And we match them with the expectation from the investors. Next is the supply. The supply of self-disruptive leader by market. If you look at self-disruptive leader, because the definition itself is the best in class, then self-disruptive leader tend to be high performance. Then let's look at the supply globally. Globally, there is only 15%. In Indonesia, we have a gap, same as other countries and globally as well. But the data shows you that 86% of Indonesian leaders are not self-disrupt, meaning that is not future fit ready, is not meeting the expectation of the investors community. Hence, we have a gap, right? And then, when you look at the other research, which is the inclusive leadership. The inclusive leadership shows that the characteristic of inclusive leaders have fulfilled the needs of the investor, because those who are considered as inclusive leaders are performing better. Like what? They have faster growth, they have faster time to market, they produce much better innovation, because companies with above average diversity report tends to be they have about 19% of higher innovation revenue, and at the end of the day, the impact of performance is better. And when you look at again the data of the inclusive leadership research report from Korn Ferry, it shows that we still have a gap as well. The data shows you the top 25 percentile, or the P75, for those assessment data that shows 6 or more inclusive leader traits and disciplines. So again, we have a gap in comparison to other countries. Now, and this is the last slide. And what is the takeaway from inclusive leaders? So according to the research and the insights, what the inclusive leaders tends to be more successful because, number one, they are very good in building trust. They're very good in building trust, hence creating a sense of purpose. They are the one who instill a sense of purpose and value within the organization. Hence, the organization is moving faster into the same direction. And number two, inclusive leaders tends to be very good because they are able to integrate different perspectives. Because the metrics for inclusive leaders is not only about ethnicity, it's not only about gender, but it's also about ability to integrate diverse perspective from a diverse population, right? And inclusive leaders are also those who care a lot about optimizing or unleashing the potential of their talent. And also, the inclusive leaders are very agile. They are very adaptive. They are very agile, and they are able to adapt different approaches to different situations. And the last one, inclusive leaders are the one who are willing to confront difficult topics. They are the one who leads transformation and become successful. And I think that's it for me for this evening session. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Pak Satya. So I will just summarize quickly for your presentation. So organization needs leaders who can continuously disrupt themselves and proactively drive change to navigate the uncertain business environment. And organizations with transformative leaders performs a lot better than those led by most leaders. And companies can win in disruptive times by changing the way they innovate, participating in the flow of knowledge, and creating a new innovation ecosystem. Companies are also making meaningful commitments to digital transformations, but sometimes the roadblocks are actually the people itself. And that is why future-ready leadership is urgently needed. And the most important part, I think, from your last slide was the 5 disciplines of inclusive leaders, with the qualities building interpersonal trust, integrating diverse perspective, optimizing talent, applying an adaptive mindset, and achieving transformation. Thank you so much, Pak Satya. So now, last but not least, our speaker is an IPMI student, Donny Arsal, who received his bachelor degree of economics from University of Indonesia and is now an MBA candidate at IPMI International Business School. He was the director head of investment banking at PT Mandiri Sekuritas and managing director of PT Mandiri Sekuritas, and currently the finance director of PT Jasa Marga. So, Pak Donny Arsal, the screen is yours.
Well, thank you, Sita, for the time. First of all, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good evening and salam sejahtera buat kita semua. I want to thank also to IPMI for inviting me to become one of the speakers. Well, to the all audience, let me. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. After we heard from the distinguished speaker, Pak Ronald and Pak Satya, this evening I want to share regarding what has been done in Jasa Marga for the last few years regarding the business transformation in digital era. Wait a minute. Okay. I want to start with the history of Jasa Marga. As you know that Jasa Marga was established in 1917A with the first toll road that being operated is Tol Jagorawi. At the time, we also become a regulator, but at the 2004, by new regulation, we give back the regulator function to the government, and we are only acting as the developer and operator of the toll road. The other milestone is at 2007, we did the IPO, and at 2016, Jasa Marga only operate around 500 and 93 kilometers. So for 38 years, we operate around 500 kilometers. And what happened for the next following 3 years, we operate double in terms of the toll road that being operated. And that's the big jump on the concession that we built at the time. We see at the slide that for the 80 years, we only built average 16 kilometers per year, but in 3 years, we built 190 kilometers per year. And the other milestone is what happened at the end of 2017 when we changed the cash payment to become the 100% cashless. This changing of payment system also affect on the employee, because we have around 4,000 employees that are working at the gates at the time. And then we have to find a solution about how to do with the excess employee because of the changings of the technology of the payment at the time. And now we operate around 1,191 kilometers so far. The next slide. We can see here regarding the shareholder structure, we own 70% by the government of the Republic of Indonesia. The rest is the public shareholder. We see at the parent level, we call it the branches. We have the 13 concession that's already mature, including the Kata Cikampek, Jagorawi, Inner City, and also Johor. That's the concession that has been given to us in 2004. And if you see at the left side, this is the new concession. Based on the new regulation, we have to establish one company for one new concession. And so far we have 20 subsidiaries that manage one of the concession for each company. We also spin off our division of the operatorship and also maintenance to become new subsidiary. We call it the Jasa Marga Toll Road Operator and Jasa Marga Toll Road Maintenance. And also we established the Jasa Marga related business that manage the rest area. Our market share is around 67% right now. And this slide shows that Jasa Marga Toll Roads also spread out around Indonesia. We have one in Kalimantan, Balikpapan, Samarinda, one in Sulawesi, Manado, Bitung, and one in Bali, and 2 in North Sumatra. The rest is in the Greater Jakarta and Central Java. The milestone that happened at 2017 was when we linked the Trans-Jawa area together with the others toll road owner, and then make easier for us to travel from the West Java to East Java. Under this bar chart, we see that we doubled up the business in only 3 years. And the Jasa Marga has the strategic framework. Previously, when we built some massive capex from 2016 to 2019, our strategic framework is massive development. Now, because we already built 18 of the new concession, our balance sheet is already heavy. We're changing our strategic framework direction to what's called the balancing the growth and financial stability to build the Jasa Marga resilience, because we we have to prioritize the stability, the financial first, and then we look at the future development, and we focus on the fix the fundamental. And also the core business, we did the integration between the old and the new concession and enhance the capacity of our operatorship and maintenance in the toll road. And also we developed the related business, especially in the TOD toll road corridor and also the rest area. And in order for us to keep support the government and develop the new toll road in the future, we do the financing alternative, not rely only on the conventional one, and also we did the asset recycling program. We also transform the organization and human capital capability and transfer the culture in order to anticipate the future development. And of course, on the technology, we already the roadmap to improve our service to the customer. This is the business challenge that we face right now. The industry 4.0, the VUCA one, and we still facing the coronavirus pandemic. Let's make our situation more difficult right now after the massive capex. And we see the challenge that we face from the external and also from the internal regarding the human capital capability as more important for us to manage. And internally, we have to operate in more efficient and develop the existing and prospective business to make the value creation in the future. This is before we start this one. I want to show you the video regarding the innovation on the toll road operation that we already did so far.
Suaranya tidak terdengar, Pak.
Pak, we still can't hear the sound.
Well, sorry. To make, okay, that what we show on the video, we changing the payment system in 2017. Now, also see in Jakarta area. Sorry. In Jakarta area, we are on the trial of the what's called the flow. This is a tabless. What is the difference with the e-money right now? The e-money, your money is on your card. If you lost the card, you lost your money. But on the tabless one, the money is on the server. So we download the flow, and then like the payment method, the other payment method, we are using the flow, and there's a reader that read through the sticker that we put on the headlamp. It reduced the transaction time actually from the 7 seconds to become only 2 seconds. And for the next technology, the government willing to apply what's called the multi-lane free flow. It is the no gates or gateless, like what happened in Singapore. This is the future technology that now we are developing in the IoT lab. We established the IoT lab at the the Tangerang branch, and also we do the several roadmap on the how we develop the digital technology in the future. On the talent management as well, we apply the transformation of the culture, and including the recruitment, not only using the ordinary recruitment, but on the MT program, we are using the YouTube as the part of our recruitment method. And also now we already rejuvenation our employee, while now it's already 2027 actually. The BOD -1 is our millennial, and also the performance not only based on the achievement but also based on the behavior. Because of the digital disruption, we know that some skill, some job will be gone, and some job will be needed as well. That's why from the challenge that we're facing right now, we shifting the competency of the
employee to adapt the new development of the business. This is the comprehensive approach in learning. We divided on the learning and develop through experience, and also develop through others. And the last one, learn and develop through formal resources. So we divided 70%, 20%, and 10%. We already also using the apps, the digital one on the learning. So we give them some budget based on the criteria and also achievement of the each employee to learn to increase the capacity that they need to improve in the future. And there is a shifting competency. We have already programmed how we start from the mapping based on the job that we need, and then we set the program, including the assignment, and also create a new job for the new employee. The next one, if we see here, the composition is a BOD number 1, means the below 40 years old is already increased from only 6% in the 2008. Now it becomes 27%. Also, female and male composition, while the female now already increased from 17% to become 20%. This is what I want to share regarding the challenge of 2017 from the basic only around 500. We have to build 1,000 kilometers in 3 years, consists of 20 new projects, and apparently 18 concession is already finished and being operated right now. Now we have the total length of being operated is around 1,191. It's a big challenge at the time whether we could find the availability of the financing in the market, and whether we have the capacity to leverage that loan, and how we match the cash flow of the project with the financing scheme. And this is how we come up with several initiatives for financing based on the staging of the progress of the project, start from the land acquisition, construction, and also now we are facing what's called the negative cash flow period, because we have the concessions length 35 to 50 years. Now we are facing the negative cash flow period. After this period, we see that after this period, it's gonna be the second harvest time for Jasa Marga. This is several initiatives, the breakthrough that we already did since 2017 through the capital market transaction, including the first future revenue backed securities using the underlying the oldest concession, which is the Jagorawi section. We also issued the first project bond that listed in Indonesian Stock Exchange, and the other landmark deal is the first Komodo bond. This is the first the IDR global bond that offered and listed in London Stock Exchange and Singapore Stock Exchange. We also did several asset recycling program, and also introduced the ADPT mutual fund and also the infra in order for us to get more equity to support our balance sheet, because in finance 152 trillion, the shareholder only give us around 1.7 trillion, so we have to find another 150 trillion to finance our concession. And apparently the financing is already done. Now how we could survive the or could service the all obligation based on the loan agreement. This is how we combine during the massive capex, our revenue, EBITDA, and even net profit still stable during the massive capex, and we still keep maintain our ratio in the solid position. I think for the next one is what we already did to anticipate or to face the pandemic. Internally, we already made cost saving around 500 billion. Also, we manage the progress of the project, and also we postpone some of the capex. On the external one, we negotiate with the bank on the interest payment. Also, we postpone the principal payment, and also we find some liquidity in the market to support during the challenging year in order for us to could survive during the pandemic. I think this one the things that we did in order us to could optimal in serving our customer during the pandemic. I think Sita, that's the end of my presentation. I give it to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pak Donny. I'll just summarize a bit. So Jasa Marga is still able to provide optimal service even during the pandemic, yes, and while still implementing the health protocol. And it also has proven that when led transformatively, a company could survive any types of challenges, such as the global business challenges of 4.0 Internet of Things, and the current pandemic situation, and that through technology and digital transformation, comprehensive approach in learning and development, rejuvenation and inclusivity, innovation, development of Internet of Things laboratory, and by finding alternative financing, Jasa Marga have improved its effectiveness in providing service to all users. And it's actually, I just want to add a bit, like this time is really difficult for everyone, and I think every types of business. And regarding to the virtual way due to the pandemic in my industry as well, which is the performing arts industry, it's really, we are really badly affected by the pandemic situation, and we are forced to thrive, survive, and be resilient and find innovative ways to keep the performing arts alive within this difficult situation. So yes, now we are in the session of question and answer. So if anyone have any questions to the speakers, please do not hesitate to write the questions in the chat box. I think we had already a question. Let me check in the chat box. Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, Pak Satya is not here anymore because he has another call to attend. There's one question for Pak Rinaldi from Fajar Angga. He would like to ask your opinion on how should the energy company transform to survive in the digital era, pandemic condition, and the economic recession era.
Wow, that's a heavy question. Let me try to answer. Okay, thank you, Fajar Angga, on the question. So let me repeat the question. How should the energy company transform to survive in the digital era, pandemic condition, and the economic recession era? Okay. Firstly, actually, this pandemic, let's talk about the digital later, but the pandemic situation first, has really changed the energy company a lot. One is because of the, especially, the oil price has gone down to around $40–45 from previously even close to 100. So, and the problem is not only the decline in the price. The problem is multiple layers. Second one is also because the demand. The demands is also declining, because of the people is less trafficking, less transporting. And what happened also in the energy, there is a really an uptrend in the renewable energy. So that created an environment in the energy sector, especially oil and gas and coal, in which we got hit from multiple sides, and when you see the future is also quite challenging, because of the resurgence of electric vehicles, of EV, even in UK, they basically do not allow the product, entrance of the non-EV cars in year 2030 and beyond. So that also basically affect the energy demands in the whole world. So you could see also from the IPO of going public of Saudi Aramco, which was basically running but not as high as expected. So with that current external condition, the demand and the competition from renewable energy, and the other one is also investors, shareholders. Shareholders currently, they basically try to avoid the non-clean energy. So that's why it is, if you are in the coal sectors, I think it's going to be more and more difficult to find financing or investors for the coal from overseas. So that is basically the good thing is, especially because of still around 10 years before the EV is basically put a strong foothold in the industry, and there is also diversification to petrochemicals. So first, we still expect that the demand for the energy, especially hydrocarbon, is still going to be up, but no longer like before, probably in a low single digit. However, the competition in price coming from other types of energy is very, very intense. So forget to have the price which would be like before. So that said, okay, facing this situation, what should we do? So first, we should do the transformation. We follow what the market is doing. Fortunately, the change in energy is not as the change in the retail sectors, in the IT, in probably in the other sectors. So what the energy company have to do, one is, as in my presentation, hold your customers. So what would your customers want to have? So in the future, they like to, because one of the largest consumers of hydrocarbon is transportation. So you have to hold your transportation customers. So how? Provide them and follow, basically anticipate the new EV that would come on the road in the next 10, especially in Indonesia, in the next 10 years. How? Start producing one, you can do whatever, prepare. This is where probably an energy company like Pertamina and PLN have to share the cake, because whenever you are doing the energy for the transportation currently is done by Pertamina, yeah, because of the SPBU. But in the future, it's basically electric vehicles, so PLN should have the share also in the charging machines. The other thing, try to transform yourself, to provide what is again, because it is driven by the market, by the customers. Customers is using EV. What is the EV requiring? Is the battery. The battery, because when you talk about the electric vehicles, it's not a vehicle. It's a software, but you have the box of cars on top of it. So it's like a computer, it's like a handphone, Whenever the new handphone coming with the new operating system, then basically what important is not the car, not the body, but is what important is the software. So energy company must be able to transform itself also to follow what the customers want. And on the, I think that is what is currently also being done. That's why you see what happened, our energy company is trying to make a consortium on producing, electric battery for EV, what we have to do, probably many of you are not really aware of it, many of pharmaceuticals raw materials are coming from hydrocarbon. So we have to be able to diversify our customers. So it's not only serving transportation, serving factories, but also diversify into petrochemical, diversify into pharmaceuticals. So I believe, and that requires a lot of new talents in the area, which has never been in our expertise, especially when we go to the battery, who is basically expert or having skills then. So that is the talent. At the same time, on the digitalization, a lot, but this is too technical, however, I can say both in procurements, consolidating the procurements, that is going to be very big impact on the digitalization. And as another one important point for digitalization is also on the information regarding the sharing of information regarding the reserve, the locations, etc., and how data plays an important role on how people is making the or creating the algorithm now to do things. So in short, I think that what I can say is a challenging time for an energy company. However, if you see many of the large European energy company, they are moving into that direction. Renewable energy, EV, and also streamlining the internal operating processes. Just for information, because my financial background as well. If a company relies on hydrocarbon, the valuation is currently around 5 to 6 EV EBITDA. But on the renewable energy, especially wind, especially solar, and others, the valuation is double than that. So that's how investors are shying away from the traditional energy into the new energy. Thank you. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Pak Rinaldi. So, Pak, the key to surviving any difficulties is basically to self-transformation and new talents to capture what the customers wants, correct? Yeah? Okay, thank you, Pa. So the next question is from Prof. Roy Semble to Pak Donny. Based on the Q1 and Q2 financial report in 2020, Jasa Marga profit dropped double digits. How can the digital transformation in Jasa Marga help the company face the financial problem in the short term? I'm sorry, Prof. Roy, this question is for Pak Donny, right?
Yes, true.
Yes, okay.
My student, Pak Donny.
Confirm, okay.
Yes, but actually, when we start develop the new toll road, the 20 project we built at the same time. It means that we already raised the financing, and also we have to pay all the financial obligation, including the interest, while we still build the toll road, right? So the burden occurs before we could book the revenue. There's a time lag actually, but the toll road has the concession 35 to 50 years. So Jasa Marga toll road, based on the 41 years of the track record, there is no a single year that our revenue dropped actually, except what happened on the crisis 1998, right? Even though at the time only dropped 20% at the crisis, but the revenue for the next year after the crisis even already exceeded the revenue before the crisis. So this very resilient. But we are facing the short-term issue. The burden is spike, while the ramp up revenue at the short term. That's why the infrastructure financing, we are facing what I said before as the negative cash flow period that happened 5 to 7 years. After that one, it's gonna be the second harvest. So the question is how we survive during the negative cash flow period, right? So that's why we come up with the asset recycling program. We divest some portion of the ownership to the strategic investor, or even through the mutual fund that coming through the equity participation for the next 5 years. And after that, we buy back the portion. We have the option to buy back. At the time, we already don't have the negative issue problem. So this is the nature of the business. While the revenues we have to pay all the obligation, it's gonna hit our short-term performance. But on the infrastructure one, there's the long-term game actually. So the IRR is very good, but we have to go through the short-term period, what's so-called the negative cash flow period. So we rebalance the core business with the cash, the operational efficiency. We push up the revenue by integrate some of the concession, old one to the new one, in order to increase the revenue. What we already did on the Jakarta Cikampek, Jakarta Tangerang, and also Jagorawi. We're changing the payment system from the closed system to the open system. Closed system means that you pay based on the length of the travel. On the open system, short trip and long trip you pay the same actually. So this also to reduce the congestion as well. So rebalance with the corporate activity in equity by asset recycling, so we could book in the short term the gain from the investment, while we have to wait until the ramp up period get the optimum number. so they could pay all the obligation to the bank and make it the positive cash flow at that time. That's the answer, Pak Roy. Thanks for the question.
Okay, thank you very much. Excellent.
Thank you, Pak Donny. So unfortunately, even though there are still questions, but our time is up, so we have to end this session. But don't worry, because there will be more discussions to come in the future. Before finishing, I'd like to give out important information. So there are benefits to those participating in the sharing session, where participants will receive a 50% discount off of admission fee at IPMI, as well as 15% early bird for the March 2021 intake. And to those of you who would like to know more about what I do in the performing arts, I will share in the chat my email and my profile, so you can entertain yourself with arts within the pandemic situation, working from home. Thank you so much, Professor Aman Wirakartakusuma, Dr. Rinaldi Firmansyah, Pak Satya Radjasa, Pak Donny Arsal, and thank you to all IPMI faculty and staff who are present. And of course, thank you to everyone, the participants who are here until the end of the session. And hopefully we will meet again in the future and see you all next time, and have a good evening. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sita.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sita. Thank you, Pak Rinaldi, Pak Roy,
Pak Rinaldi and Sita.
And then also the moderator, the dancer,
Pak Rahman, my colleague at martial arts.
Thank you, everyone.
Waduh, boleh belajar martial art nextnya kita nih ya. So martial art for business gitu, gimana tuh Pak?
Itu Pak Rahman tuh, silakan tuh.
Iya. So
Menarik, Bro.
what we can learn from martial art to survive the business. Asik tuh, ada analogi martial art versus business. For example, there is some jurus-jurusnya ya. Jadi jurus kalau bertarung jangka pendek bicara short term ya. Kalau untuk bertarung jangka panjang itu bicara long term. Nah, itu bisa jadi
bisa.
Very
Sama
good.
tambah mindfulness mungkin ya.
Nah, itu dia.
Mindfulness ya.
Selamat malam, Pak Rahman.
Malam, Pak Donny. Apa kabar semua? Senang ketemu ini dan terima kasih insight-nya Pak Rinaldi, Pak Donny, Pak Satya, dan Bu Firda termasuk arrangement-nya.
Ya.
Pak Sita juga.
Pak Rahman, apa kabar?
Kayaknya udah fit banget ya.
Iya.
Alhamdulillah.
Oke, thank you. Permisi.
Ya, thank you. All izin pamit. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Makasih banyak semuanya.
Sama-sama.
Terima kasih semuanya, sangat inspiring. Salam sehat.
Well done, Sita. Well done, Gur. Well done, all.
So we can make a case study for Jasa Marga survival during the crisis. Ayo kita bikin yuk.
Ayo.
Saya izin pamit. Sukses
Silakan,
selalu, jaga kesehatan. Terima kasih.
Healthy Pak Rahman.
Oke, masih.
By the way, tadi udah foto-foto belum tuh pesertanya tuh?